Welcome to Cause Before Symptom with your host, James Carner.
Break the chain, power without permission, free energy, magnet motors. We're going to be talking about all of that coming up. Welcome to Cause Before Symptom. I'm your host, James Carner. Today, October 9th, 2025. Tonight's episode is all about free energy magnetic motors, permanent magnetic motors, brushless motors. Is there a way where a magnet can turn or push another magnet, and a way to make magnets align so that they keep pushing as it flies past it, and then as it continues, all of a sudden it gets a spin? Is it so hard to create an engine that just spins from magnets pushing itself? Which, no, it's not. And is it so hard to connect a generator to it to create electricity as it's spinning? No, it's not. People are taking apart regular alternators from a car engine. They're pulling out the middle torque thing. I don't know what you call it. I'm not an engineer. But they're sheet metaling it down and then putting magnets on it inside of it to force it to spin against its south and north pole. And then they put it back together, and then they use a rope. They tie it around the thing and they pull it, and the thing goes and then it starts spinning. And it'll spin for days, months, sometimes years, depending on how well built this alternator is and that you're using. Well, if that's the case, then how come we haven't built electric cars that have this thing, an alternator, just a simple alternator that charges the freaking batteries as we go? No, can't do that. Yeah, because that's the big energy companies. They don't want to build stuff like that because they want you dependent on them. And you see, just because you buy a Tesla doesn't mean you are negating the gasoline tax. Because it's a tax on you. For you to be able to travel, you got to pay gasoline, pay for it, okay? And just because you have a Tesla doesn't mean it, because you're going to pay for it out of your butthole when the battery dies, because that's a $20,000 investment. So all of the gas you would have put into that car, by the time the battery dies, you got to replace it. So everyone buying these electric cars, they're not saving money. They're not saving the planet. There's no thought process in engineering of conserving the energy that we use and create an actual product that can last longer, give out more juice, and takes less energy to spin the damn thing. Now, we've got ball bearings that can spin and make it just a really nice crank that spins. And we have magnets that can push that over. When you put the magnet towards the magnet on it, and it turns over. And you can take magnets and just kind of get it to do that. Come on. There is plenty of free energy out there. But two reasons I think why they're not letting us buy this stuff. They're not going to create it and hand it to you. Okay, that's why we must do it ourselves. One is because there's no money in it. And two, to pull the energy from the atmosphere, okay, from nothing, what they call free energy. Well, guess who you're taking that energy from? That's right, the principalities. They need all the energy they can get because they don't get any energy from the source. In fact, I do believe that all of the world's power plants give the majority of their energy to these entities. these unseen things that give us technology in exchange for their worship. What do I know? I'm just an idiot from Oregon. Shout out to everybody on the live chat Rumble. We've got Royal Rumble number 1 saying, "What's up, Pastor? What's up, Warriors?" How's it going, Royal? Glad to see you. Second warrior is Scorpion. Number 2 says, "What's up, fam? Time to break the chain." That's right. I believe so. We're going to try. Royal repeats, "For the Lord is our judge. The Lord is our lawgiver. The Lord is our king. It is he who will save us." Isaiah 33:22. Little random Bible verse of the night. Get us going. Don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you, Royal. That was very nice of you. Yes. God is everything to us if you just let go and give it all to him. Jeffrey, number 4 warrior. What is up, pal? It says, "Hey, y'all. Looks like Sora is disgusting. I already knew. I feel like this, and they're on the way to desensitizing us to child blank and among other things." Well, that's not just Sora. They've been using artificial intelligence to do that crap for a long time, so that's nothing new. But yeah, they're going to probably, pass some bill to say that's okay. They can be caught with that stuff. I don't know, but slowly just sandpapering down your morals until you just accept it. And that's how they do it. And they're not going to stop because, well, they don't have a spirit. They don't have a soul. They're just walking psychopaths. Jeffrey then follows, "Elites want us to rely on AI so we don't build a relationship with God." I mean, it makes sense. We rely on AI, no more communication with others because the others will be AI Satan. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, we are constantly involving ourselves more in computers and AI and allowing it to do our dingle bobber. So we have got to, well, one, AI isn't evil, and using AI is fine if you're doing it for God's purposes. But if you're using AI for evil, then, you're not going to get anything out of it. The exchange doesn't go both ways. It's going to ruin your faith, ruin your morals, ruin, any possible communication with God because you are putting all of your hope, faith, and dreams into a machine. Now, the machine is clever. It's got access to countless of information out there, books and history and videos and it's fun to play with it. But if you could just sit back, remind yourself, this is just a tool that I'm using, and I'm not going to allow it to take over my thoughts. Meaning, if it has an opinion, say that's great, but don't let it change yours. And the only way you can get through this spiritual deception is by praying and getting as close to God as you possibly can. Royal Rumble follows up, "Hey, people forget about tax on gasoline. Imagine if they knew about the salt tax." Dude, everything's a tax. Texas Militia is here saying, "Howdy, what's up, Texas?" Jeffrey saying, "By the way, we can create gasoline through plastic. I saw a kid do it on TikTok. It was pure." Yeah, I've seen that too. Yes, you can. You can do this. You can build this stuff. And then once you put it on YouTube, TikTok, or Facebook, or any of those others, you're being watched. We see what you're doing. Yeah, be careful. Jeffrey says, "Hey, by the way, we can create gasoline through plastic. I saw a kid do it." Yeah, we already said that. And then Texas Militia says, "Hey, calling tomorrow." Awesome. Thank you, Tex. We will look forward to that. All right, guys, let's get into this shitty, crappy, horrible, bullshit breaking news. Because why not?
Welcome to Shitty Breaking News with your host, James Carter, offering his shitty opinion.
All right, Lolita James, a New York attorney general who defeated Trump in court. God, I can't even get to it. Indicted by Justice Department. It's a war between the left and the right. Now, my hypothesis is a war between the Orsini and the Lee family. I could be wrong. New York against Chicago. I could be wrong. But definitely when New York gets a defeat, New York will turn around and get something in their favor because, hey, yeah, Lolita, you're not getting off. No, Trump's coming after you. I'm telling you. Trump, he's not a nice guy. And all the things that hey, look, I'm not supporting him. I don't like the guy either. I think he's a wicked man. But good God, man. I warned you guys, you politicians, I warned you. When he gets back in office, and he will, he's going to shred you guys, make it so that you don't have a career. That's what he's focusing on. Glad I am not up against the dude. Israel cabinet ratifies Gaza ceasefire and hostage deal with Hamas. Right after, it was right before they're ready to sign it, Israel goes and blows up some more of Gaza. IDF just having a blast, just killing women and children. Well, apparently, people think this is the 7-year peace treaty and Trump's the Antichrist and we're all going to heaven. No. But they do mock trials of the tribulation, and this is what we're going to witness. And believe me, everyone's going to reach up into the sky and wait for Jesus, and he's not going to come. The reason being is because he died for you already. You have all the power that he has in heaven. You just won't execute it. So that's not on Jesus, okay? Now, yes, there is the revelations and the tribulations and all of that stuff, but it's not in order, and not one person has been able to figure that one out. So chill out. Chill out on, trying to predict if Jesus is coming or not. The victory has already been done. Satan is just pouting around thinking he can, get what he wants. But doesn't the Bible say that during the tribulation, God is going to separate the wheat from the tares, and he's going to burn the tares up first? Doesn't he say that? Yeah, it says that in Revelations. So if they're burning up the bad guys first, what are we so worried about? Well, the Catholic Church said, no, that's not what's going to happen. All the Christians' heads are going to get cut off. Come on, guys. No, what we're seeing is the opening of our eyeballs. It's called revelation. Oh my God, what in the hell's going on? Well, you've been lied to for the past 1,000 years, and you've allowed it. And now you've got a chance to speak up and do something about it, just like we're going to be talking about tonight, where I'm going to try to show you guys that free energy is possible. But you gotta speak up. You got to get up and you got to try it. See, we're going to try it, see if it works. If it does, we're going to do our best to help other people with it. No, we're not going to sell it. That's when the big oil company will be sending snipers. No, thank you. I don't trust big oil. I don't trust oil companies, and I frankly wouldn't want to be in the car company competing against all those other guys because they are evil, ruthless, wicked, and nasty. But in Revelations, everyone is going to wake up, and there's nothing that the elite can do about it. Now, I'm sure they have been soft to waking us up for quite some time now because they're trying to get a hold of the narrative so that they will own what they're going to see later, but even that seems like it's backfiring. So this is why they say there's going to be a great reset by 2030. What that is, we really don't know. Civil War in America, World War III around the world, or they're going to just hit a button and all of our memory gets erased, or a rapture, or I don't know. And quite frankly, the Bible says, don't worry about it. Chill. It's okay. Jeffrey says, by the way, how do you guys feel about DuckDuckGo or Brave search engine? Supposedly, it's like VPNs. They are owned by the same people that control Google. So good luck, Jeffrey. Here's the deal. All the VPNs I have found out are owned by Israel. So Israel is collecting everything you're searching for, okay? Virtual private network means a computer that you're searching a website on in a data center. Okay, and they can mask it, but it's the company that chooses to hold on to your IP or not, and they can send your IP to anybody that asks if they say the right thing or if they give the right thing. So no, there's no such thing as privacy in an internet world. The internet, as it evolves, it's going to be more and more controlled, and hasn't it been already? I mean, You can't have free speech on platforms anymore, can you? Nope. So, all right. Trump has his eyes on the Nobel Prize. Will he get it? Well, if he gets it, then what's he getting it for? For his last time he set peace in the Middle East, or is it for the future peace in the Middle East? I don't know. I have no clue. I don't know why he even wants the Nobel Peace Prize, you know? Remember when Obama got it? He just got into office. He didn't do shit. He hasn't sat down with a pen and wrote any signatures on any bill or law or executive order, and he gets a peace prize. Why? I guess Trump's jealous. I have no clue, but will he get it? Well, if he doesn't, you know, he's going to have a hissy fit. Well, we'll see what happens. Federal judge hits Trump administration credibility in siding with city and state against the National Guard deployment. Well, there are other kinds of laws that Trump can get around and just issue it. You see, they've been citing no, but they're already there. Detroit already has a National Guard there, and they were sent from Texas, all right? So Texas just invaded Illinois. If you really want to think about it that way, that's kind of what happened. Yeah, Texas, their National Guard just invaded Illinois and Chicago. And I think this is all about the ports, okay? This is what I think, because to go in those areas, that's where all the biggest ports are that are controlled by China. And I think Trump's just going in there and getting rid of that control. That's what I believe. Now, you're all going to think, oh my God, this is civil war, martial law, and all that stuff. I don't think so. I think this is to secure those ports so that Trump's tariffs are being paid. That's really what it's about, because Trump has a plan with tariffing everyone, and the blue states aren't paying their fair share of the tariffs, and they're keeping it, and they're not giving it to Trump. And so, all right, any of you who and all of their cities are full of violence anyway. So yeah, there was a perfect excuse for Trump to, you know, send the National Guard in to secure those ports, and they're not there for the violence. They don't give a shit about violence. You think Trump really cares about, you know, crime? No. He's a criminal too. They're all criminals. Everyone who stands behind a television and 1 million people are viewing them or more, they're a criminal. Then they got their way by doing criminal stuff. But what do I know? Philippines and Indonesia issue tsunami warnings after a 7.4 magnitude earthquake. Well, oops, I didn't do it. Republican unity to avoid shutdown concessions is cracking after failed votes. Well, good luck with that. And look, guys, all of this stuff, it's all just a play, all right? Don't worry, Letitia James is going to be fine. Letitia. Did I say Letitia? I meant Letitia James. Don't worry about her if you like her. She's going to be just fine, okay? She's going to get her Hampton house. She's going to get her Hawaii home. She's going to get her Mexican home. She'll be just fine, okay? Don't worry about her. Because they're all in it together. That's what they are. Now, they act like it because, you know, they've got to give us the illusion that this is, you know, organic and people are fighting against, or the government's fighting against each other. No, they're not. It's all a bunch of bullshit. Anyway, all right, what else we got? And Trump holds a cabinet meeting as Israel and Hamas agree to a ceasefire. So he's going to fly over there, and then he's going to press the button of being the most greatest, grandiose president in world history. When really, no, he was just picked to finalize getting the biometric ID in place. That's really what his job is. That's what I believe. Trump, before he leaves office, he's going to make sure that we all get a biometric ID just like the UK does. He's going to do it, but we're going to fight against it, and that's up to you guys if you can hold your own. And there's a video of Kristi Noem blaming Democrats for shutdown, rolling out the TSA security checkpoints across the country. Well, you know, but remember, she's just an actress. Katie Porter Camp rallies allies to her defense. Who gives a shit? Spanberger and Earl Sears tussle over violent political rhetoric is an only debate. Who gives a shit? Remember, this is how it works. It's not me, it's them. They are playing a game. And their game is a big chessboard, and they're moving pieces, and they both work for the same person. And that person just so happens to be an entity that you can't see. Yes, they believe in a God, and they're playing all of these games under their God's protection, and that's Satanism 101. All right, we're going to go to a quick commercial. When we get back, we're going to be talking about free energy, how to break the chain, and we're going to be talking about getting power without permission from the state.
Do you have tax burdens? Do you carry personal liability? If so, let me tell you why you have tax burdens and personal liability. And if you stick with me until the end, I'll share a simple solution to reduce the burdens you carry. When you put assets in your name, you also carry the liability. And by setting up a corporation, LLC, or partnership, you also carry the liability for the share of ownership you have in these organizations. So when you receive a W-2 form, 1099, or K-1 at the end of each year, that shows your liability for the assets you have carried in your name or your business name. The flow of liability works this way. You get a job, you take money in your name. When you are a contractor, you take money in your name. When you begin a business, you take money in the business name, which is set up with you as the owner. Nelson Rockefeller quoted, "The secret to success is to own nothing but control everything." He said this because when you own something in your name, you also own the liabilities. Introducing the solution. Begin an unincorporated association and remove assets out of your name while remaining in control and management of them. An unincorporated association is a state-registered entity that you can put assets into, is member-based and not tied to your name, has a tax-exempt EIN number, is private and not found when doing an online search. Whether you receive a 1099 or K-1 under your name, consider setting up your own unincorporated association and allow the association to be the owner of your assets and free yourself from the burden of personal liability. P.S. Join our affiliate program and receive payment for referrals.
All right, we're back to the show. While we're at commercial, Royal Rumble says, while in the U.S. we wouldn't go to jail, talking about being anti-Semitic. And do we truly have freedom of speech? You ask that now. They were asking that in the 60s. Wasn't it Kent State where our own National Guard shot up a bunch of students? Are we so quick to forget about that? You know, that was kind of a big deal where the National Guard shot innocent people for protesting against the war in Vietnam. Did we have freedom of speech back then? No, that was the government saying, shut up. We're making money and you're in the way of that. So, no, we don't have freedom of speech. We never have had freedom of speech here, okay? As long as the press is owned by the boogeyman, well, you're not going to have it. Breaking the chain tonight, power without permission. I want to show you guys a video that I think is quite interesting. Take a look. Look at this. Those are just magnets. And as you spin it, that little configuration spins against the main magnet, and it'll just keep spinning and spinning and spinning because it's propelling itself against north and south. And then someone goes, okay, I can make a better version. So they made this thing, which is a magnet drive or motor, and it's ran only on magnets. And then this guy makes one as you pull the magnets inside the other magnets, it starts to spin. And do you see the little light bulbs at the end of it? Yeah, that's hooked to a little generator. And then this guy.
And it's 48 inches in diameter. So I'm going to go ahead and manipulate it, and you can see how it reacts.
This
Hopefully that
is a big
RPM
magnet.
gauge is very, very visible. So all I got to do, I'm going to take this down into the attenuation position.
He's taking the brake off.
Hold it. Not going to do any work.
And the magnets
There's absolutely no energy
are going to
into
start
this
spinning.
system. Just use of magnetic force.
Magnetic
the
force.
Permanent magnetic field is here between the attenuator and the flywheel itself.
And that thing is
come
going to
around.
spin. It's going to start spinning until it gets fast enough to where you can hook up a generator to it. Right? This is now, it's not free because it won't last when the power of the magnet deteriorates, okay? But how long does it take a magnet to deteriorate? How long? 10 years, 20? Probably. But buying this, as something like this, a motor that spins just on magnets, a magnet pushing another magnet, and then you've got a bunch of them pushing a bunch of them. The bigger you get, the more energy you can produce. We can literally create like buildings that are magnetic sizes and power entire cities just based off magnets. And when the magnetation dies, we have machines that can put the magnetation back in. We can regenerate the magnets. So why are we ignoring this technology? And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, because I'm telling you guys, we are being played. We're being lied to. And we literally have had inventors who made magnets or motors out of magnets that can drive cars, that can pump water out of the ground, that can create enough energy to light your entire house, to bypass the entire grid altogether. And what if I told you that with just a simple rope, a wheel, and a few magnets, you could boil water, you could charge a phone, and you could light a home without touching the grid, without asking for permission, without buying another drop of fuel? What if I could tell you that's possible? What would you say? What if I told you that the poorest man in the most remote village has more power in his hands than the kings who hold the wires? Well, tonight we're not talking about theory. We're talking about proof. You see, we saw it with our own eyes. A car alternator pulled by a string, retrofitted with magnets, turning motion into fire. Not forever. Not infinite. But long enough to actually cook a meal, warm a room, and charge a soul. There are videos out there where they are taking just a simple alternator from a car. They're pulling out the torque rod, and they're machining it down, and then they're adding magnets to it, and then they're putting it back in, and then once they spin it, those magnets repel against each other, and the thing just continues to spin almost like forever. You can do this. In fact, me and Zach and Robert, we're working on trying to build a prototype here, something that can charge an entire motorhome. And once we get this, well, the goal I want to do is I want to help these villages in Africa. I want to create a miniature, a small size that can charge a cell phone and heat food for boiling water, and heat up boiling water and cook food, basically for people who can't afford to get on the African grid, which is really expensive. And most people in Africa, they're using propane, which is really expensive. And so if we can just quietly give these little devices to each hut, something that would only cost us maybe, $20 to make. Wouldn't that be worth it to put your money into that, to actually help people? Not only that, but maybe warm up their home at night with a magnetic motor that just turns on magnets repelling each other? I mean, how is this not being created in mass? It's mind-boggling. So we did see it with our own eyes. I showed you free energy magnet motors that can spin. All you need to do is slap an alternator on it, and that spins the alternator, which creates electricity, which you can start divvying out to wherever you want. And this is what we're supposed to be learning. You see, school doesn't teach you this because they want us dumb and dependent upon their system, their grid, their machines, their cars. And that's bullshit. And they want you dependent forever. But what about the rest of those who don't have access to even electricity? And there's a place in Africa right at the edge of Niger where they're right at the edge of the Sahara Desert, and they don't have a lot of trees. And the only way that they can actually cook food is through burning wood. And there's not a lot of wood. There's no wood in a desert. And the only way that they could build homes there is through sticks. And sometimes they have to give up part of their home just to cook a meal. That's not right. I would like to do something about it. Not change the world, because if you try, they'll take you down. But at least do something about that, you know? I would rest and be happy knowing that I changed 100 huts in Africa and their lives by giving them free energy and teaching them how to maintain these little devices that we're going to create and swap out motors when they go down and add another one. You see, the world tells you energy is complicated, and you're stupid. And they also say energy is expensive. They say it's industrial and it's regulated. And they laugh at the idea that a rope and a magnet could replace a grid. You could literally charge all of Africa on all of America's alternators that are sitting in junkyards. You could. They could put that all together and add batteries to save the energy and charge all of Niger just with all of the alternators that cars. You know what an alternator is? It is a spinning motor that you have to have electricity to spin, and it creates electricity to charge the battery in the car. So while you're driving, your battery stays at 100%. That's an alternator. Have you heard of them? That's what it does. It keeps the battery charged, so every time you turn it on, it's at 100%. But no way can they create enough energy to charge an electric car, because they say, you're stupid and you don't know anything about physics. Go read a physics book. Well, those are all the bots that DARPA puts into place to keep us dependent on oil. Don't be fooled. Yeah, sure, they'll laugh at the idea of a rope and a magnet that can replace a grid, and they want you dependent. They want you passive. They want you obedient to the electric priesthood. But we say no. Say no. You could say, bite me. We say the flame belongs to the people. Energy. Sure, solar energy is great, Jeffrey, but it doesn't work great at night, does it? Sure, wind energy is wonderful, but it doesn't work when there's no freaking wind. But when there's no wind and there's no solar, what do you have left? And your batteries are draining. Wouldn't it be nice to have one machine that can spin for 30 years without even shutting down, that can create electricity? What if you can take away wind and solar, Jeffrey, and just use this machine? Can you create one? Yes, you can. I'm going to prove it tonight. We say the flame belongs to us, the people. Energy. And every village, every homestead, every displaced refugee can own their own spark. And this is not free energy. This is earned energy. Human motion turned divine. A wheel of power that needs no permit, no monthly bill, and no apology. And there are several ways we can achieve this. And in this episode, we're going to hand you the blueprint, not just for a machine, but for a movement. Something where you guys need to start talking about this because it's been too long. You need to start telling people that you can create a motor magnet, permanent motor magnet that can create energy just by replacing the metal inside the torque with magnets, and it will create energy as long as the magnets repel each other and keep spinning, and the motor spins because it spins, and they use ball bearings to spin with less resistance. Come on now. You don't need a permit. There's no monthly bill. We're going to show you how the poor will power themselves, how Africa can cook without aid, how off-grid families can light their nights, how the forgotten can be the first to rise. And it begins with a pull, a flash, and a moment when the lie of power is broken by the truth of motion. And tonight, we don't just spark the wire, we're going to spark a revolution. Will you join me? One rope, one flame, one wheel at a time. Now, for over a century, we've been told that electricity is a gift granted from above, from great towers that spider across the land, from distant dams and tame rivers, from corporate labs that hum behind razor wire. The grid, they say, is the only way to power your home, your stove, your phone, your life. They teach it in school. They build it into your rent. They wrap it in legislation and call it civilization. But guys, it's all a lie. Electricity is not complicated. It's not elite. It's not locked in their vaults. Electricity is motion. That's it. It's the simple act of movement, of a magnet spinning near a coil, of wire, copper wire reacting to force, of nature obeying the laws it has always known. They have built an empire on pretending this is a mystery, that only licensed engineers and billion-dollar companies can create the spark. Bullshit. That you must pay, wait, and submit forever. Yet a child with a bicycle can make light. All it needs is a spinning wheel. A woman with a salvaged alternator can cook her children food without lighting a match. The real purpose of the grid is not just to deliver energy, it's about control. To control the people who use it. To bind them to a monthly bill. To cut them off with the flick of a switch. To monitor, meter, and manipulate the 3 M's. What's up, Boots? Boots is in the house. The lights that you depend on are not yours. The food you cook is powered by a system that can be revoked. That's not independence. That's a leash. But that leash frays with every alternator pulled from a junkyard. It unravels with every magnet salvaged from an old speaker. Every time someone wires up a simple coil and turns it by hand, the illusion shatters. the myth then dies. Because in that moment, the truth is exposed. You don't need a utility company. You don't need a state. You don't need lithium mines or rare earth subsidies or black-suited technicians from a smart meter company. You need a wheel and you need motion. And you need the will to take it back. All across the world, from the bush of Nigeria to the outskirts of the Appalachia, this realization is spreading. And it's not through universities, but through actual need, through desperation. You can see it in videos of people in India who use this free energy all the time. Magnetic powering solutions, where they use the power of magnets to create a machine that uses the magnet to make a wheel spin and spin constantly until they turn it off. Through desperation and through the raw ancestral understanding that fire should never be leased. They're even trying to take away lighters and want to sell you a faster burning lighter instead of those little quick Bics that last you 2 years. Now they want you to have a torch where you have to fill it every 2 days. Desperation, because their system means dependency. Their system means leasing their fire. But heat should never be owned. Let me repeat that. Heat should never be owned. That light is not a product. It's a right. You have a right to heat your home and to light your home. And it should be held sacred, a human right. And when you begin to reclaim that light, they will call you dangerous. They may even call you primitive. They'll call you a liar, a fantasist, and a fraud. There's no such thing. The resistance from all of the working parts will turn it off anyway. There's no such thing as free energy. 0-point energy is a myth. Because the grid depends not on wires, but on your belief that those wires are necessary. Well, tonight, we're going to unplug that belief. We're going to sever it completely. And in its place, we spin something older, something simpler, something that cannot be built. A wheel, a rope, and a flame. Let's take a look at that video again. All this is one magnet hooked to the side, and those are other magnets glued in a certain spot where it will continue to move until you turn it off. And from that simple idea of moving magnets in the right place so that they repel each other, look at that spark. Then they go and make something like this. A huge magnetic turning motor that uses no electricity to spin it, just magnets negating each other, propulsing itself. And then this one, where they're pushing the magnets inside, and the inside rotors are spinning because of the magnets on the outside. And they got a little alternator for those little lights. And then this guy.
And it's 48 inches in
diameter. He creates
so I'm going to go ahead and
an actual device that can charge an entire home.
Very, very visible. So all I got to do, I'm going to take this down into the attenuation
He's
position.
He's going to let go of the brake that's holding the magnets from pushing and repelling each other, and that thing is going to eventually spin faster.
Permanent magnetic field is here between the attenuator
and on those
and
gears,
the flywheel itself. We're going to let it come
they're going to
around.
put an alternator or a machine that's going to make electricity from that spinning. I've been dreaming about this for 20 years. I just haven't. I'm not a machinist, and I'm not a mechanic. I haven't figured out how to, take something apart, put it back together. I'm just not good at that. I'm good at researching and seeing the truth and then presenting it to the people. And that is literally stemming from a wheel, a rope, and then a flame. And that's all you need is to break the lie of the grid. And I just showed you turning machines that can literally spin. You see, who cares how long the machine spins? If the machine can spin for 60 minutes and then you have to put the rope around it and pull it again for it to go back and spin for another 60 minutes, that's 60 minutes of energy being put into a device, whether it's an iPhone or phone, or whether it's a cooking device, a simple electric stove to heat your water and food. Shit like this should be already built that you can put in your backpacks and hike and just live off of Mother Nature with this little machine. It doesn't come from a lab. This is a discovery that's been in the dust. This is something God has given us a brain to figure out. And it most certainly didn't come from MIT or Silicon Valley or the Department of Energy. It came from the floor of a garage, from a man with grease under his fingernails and a junk alternator on a plywood bench. He had no grants, no government, just hands, memory, and magnetism. And a string wrapped around the shaft of it, a pull, a spin, and then a flash. And the magnets, because it's repelling each other, going faster and faster and faster. It's not going to stop until you put a brake on the shaft. And that will spin until the magnets die. Well, how long does a magnet last? Years. So this thing can spin for years. And then did you know that you can remagnetize those magnets? Yes, you can. We've got the technology to make all of us off-grid and not dependent on the system. But they're lying to us, and they're using bots and DARPA computer geeks. Yeah, it's something in my mouth. It's bugging me. DARPA and computer geeks to go on all the forums and say, impossible, it's a lie. Where are the batteries? Impossible, lie. There's a battery somewhere. Where are the wires? Because, dude, they're lying. And they try to convince you not to believe in this. What we saw here, that's not a prototype. What we're witnessing, it's a revelation. And we can do this from a salvaged car alternator. The kinds that millions of people throw away every single year. All you need are the magnets to repel each other. And this is what it comes up with. Something like this. Now, I don't have the alternator magnet video. I'm sorry. It's very long. These are just little quick videos I grabbed just to give you an idea that it's possible to make something spin with magnets by the magnet of the North and the South Pole repelling each other. And it'll just keep going. I don't want you, I don't want you, I don't want you. And it'll just, everything just spins as long as you have it grouped in a certain way to where it'll repeat the pattern over and over and over again. And the salvaged car alternator, it's already made to create electricity, okay? And it spins on electricity. You have to connect electricity to make it spin. But if you take the electricity and cut that out, pull out the rod, and then put magnets inside of it to repel each other, so it will start to spin by repellation. That's my new word. Then it will spin and cause electricity because the alternator is made to create electricity. But it doesn't need the electricity to get it to start anymore. All you need to do is pull it with the string or a rope wrapped around the bar, the shaft, to pull it just like you do a lawnmower. This is the revelation. The kind that millions of people throw away every year, a salvaged car alternator. And its field coil ripped out, replaced with neodymium magnets from an old speaker. And the casing reassembled. That's all you need to do. And then bearings are tightened, and then there's a rope affixed to the pulley. It takes no computers, no sensors, just movement. And the guy pulled once, and the rotor spun. Pulled once, rotor spun. And it spun for a long time. And the multimeter jumped. 12 volts, steady, hit a bulb, then another, then a phone charger was added to it, then a small fan was added to it. We watched it. Silent. And we heard no hum of a gas generator. We saw no fumes. There was no diesel choke, just the soft whir of spinning magnets and the truth cutting through the air like a blade. Boot says you can get it pretty cheap at auto junkyards, alternators. Yeah, for $12. Get an alternator straight from a car engine. Pull the torque thing out. I don't know what you call that. The bar, the torque bar. And then you've got to fix the magnets. You got to figure out the north and the south ends of the magnets, and you just glue them on to the inside. And I have the schematics for it. In fact, I gave this information to Robert and Zach. And I also found a guy who creates these things, the actual alternator, and he sells them for like $200. The alternator that spins on itself, generating electricity. I just want to make sure it can create enough to generate a motorhome. Because I would like the idea of a hand pull to turn it on and then plug it into my motorhome, and I can watch movies and turn the AC on. Wouldn't that be amazing? And then when I'm done using it, I just go to the machine itself and I just brake, which means B-R-A-K-E, to stop the thing from spinning. How is that not easy to do? So you don't need fuel, you don't need permission, you just need motion. And magnets have a natural way of repelling each other. And the machine that we saw, it ran until the inertia wore off. Then he pulled it again. Then he pulled it again and again. And each pull bought time. Meaning, the faster you pull it, the more time this thing is going to run. Each rotation brought fire, and the same alternator that once served as a gas engine now serves a reborn altar of light for the forgotten. And this wasn't one-off either. In rural Ethiopia, children ride bicycles not to go somewhere, but to power something. In the Philippines, homemade windmill rotors lashed together from bamboo in salvaged washing machine parts. In the Appalachia, men built 12-volt generators out of junkyard motors and old ceiling fan coils. None of them is funded. Not one of them is licensed. But every one of them burns the lie right down to the ground. You see, these are the priests of the new flame. Their temples are garages. Their incense is solder smoke. Their liturgy is silence, because they do not need to speak when the machine spins and lights the room. We call them the forgotten, but maybe they are the first. And they have nothing, the ones that created these little free energy machines. They are building a future that cannot be unplugged. Now, it's not complicated, as I've showed you in those videos. The first thing you must understand here is that it's not complicated. They want you to believe this is some mystical process wrapped in equations and patents. But at its core, this machine is nothing more than honesty made tangible. Listen up. A car alternator, once a slave to gasoline engines, is transformed. Its soul the electromagnetic field coil is ripped out. In its place is neodymium magnets fixed around the center rotor like sentinels. These magnets do not fade. They do not hum. They simply exist, pouring out a stable field like a silent prayer. Around them spins the shaft, and at its end, a pulley or crank, where you wrap the rope around it, and then you pull it, and it spins, and it'll spin until inertia runs out, which could be hours, days, weeks, months, or even years, depending on how well it's put together. A pull, a spin, a revolution. What's wrong with pulling and turning your house on? Is it too much to ask to do something like that? Or just using a machine with electricity to spin the rotor fast enough to keep it to spin for a year? And who's to say that while that's spinning already and you need to spin it more, you just hook it up to the exact same machine that's working and spin it more to get it going? These things spin on bearings that are rock solid and makes it easy for it to spin. And as long as the north and the south are not are just pushing and repelling each other away, it just won't stop, because you made the grid to repel against each other over and over and over again, just like we saw in this video right here. It's simple, it's crude, it's stupid, but it works. And the oil company, the big oil, will tell you that this is a lie. They're going to say, where are the batteries? That's not spinning off of magnets. There's no such thing. Bullshit. That thing is creating electricity. How hard was it to create that? Seriously. Come on, folks. They're lying to us. You don't need an engine. You need motion. A pull, a spin, and a revolution. This is the sacred dance of magnet and metal inducing current. It's the oldest trick in the book of nature. Now, for some reason, copper, wrapped in circles, has the ability, with magnets spinning next to it, to pull electricity from the air, folks. They pull what you would call static electricity. A magnet spinning near copper, north-south, 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 really fast, pulls electricity. That's what an alternator does. But instead of charging the alternator with electricity from an external source, we just turn it into a magnet motor that spins on its own. Am I really too stupid to believe this? Is this the way we should be going, instead of hydrogen, where the elites want to take us to next? You see, if we could put $1 billion together, and we could invent cars, homes, even airplanes that run off of this magnetic motor. And all it would take is batteries to be charged to start it. Come on. The current flows outward into a charge controller, where you can actually control, hey, is this going to be enough for a light, for a computer, for an iPhone, or what? It flows into a battery where it waits like captured lighting, and from there, the power is yours to do with what you will. Charge a phone, ignite a stove, light a home, power a small radio, a fan, or even a tablet. Now, the whole machine can be built from what others throw away. You can do this with an old alternator from a junkyard. You could do it from strong magnets from a dead speaker or hard drive. You could do it from a rope with clothesline, a piece of scrap wood from a frame, a deep cycle battery from a boat or RV. You could do it without lithium too. You don't need to mine lithium from Africa to create energy. You don't need cobalt mines guarded by warlords. You just need copper, motion, and will. And the entire unit can be built for under $100 and maintained for decades. Huh? Yeah, this technology has been out there, and there have been many inventors who created it. And then they suddenly died of heart attacks. Every single one. The men who created the cars that run on hydrogen, you just pour water in it with a little electrolyte, and you can drive all the way across the United States on water. They had heart attacks. What we can build together without them is our own subscription, our own software, our own kill switch when we want to turn it on and off. And the brilliance of this is this. It does not have to be infinite. It only has to work long enough to cook a meal, long enough to finish your prayer, long enough to call a loved one, light the dark, or keep the cold away. In that one spin, few hours of sacred independence. You're freer than kings. And it's not Tesla of the tech elite. This is the village Tesla. The fire starter of the poor. The proof that energy was always meant to be human-sized. And once you've seen it work, once you've watched a rope pull alternator lights, and it lights a room with no wires connected to the outside world, you will never again believe the lie of scarcity. So there's no such thing. That's how they make money. Oh, we're running out. We're running out. That's my elite impression of those fat cats with cigars. Why does it work? Because motion is law. Because magnetism is honest. Because the universe itself is wired to respond when you move with purpose. There is no mystery here. I want to make it clear. I'll show this again. That's not mystery. That's just putting magnets on a spinning wheel so that they repel each other. That's it. There's no mystery. That sucker will spin until you turn it off. And look how fast that thing's going. It's just repelling the magnet that's sitting on there, and it's creating electricity. Imagine if we could create 1,000 of those all at once. This is just natural law being obeyed. It's not magic. It's not black magic. Don't freak out and start casting holy water at it. The power of Christ compels you. The moment a magnet moves past a copper coil, it induces voltage. Okay? That's it. This is the Faraday's law. Discovered in 1831, older than the power grid, older than Edison, older than every lie that followed it. They teach it in textbooks, but only as a relic. It's old technology. They teach it in textbooks, but it's relic. And they never show you what happens when a human being touches it. When a rope is pulled and the wheel begins to spin. Now, in a traditional alternator, electricity is created by powering an internal electromagnetic called the rotor. I got to remember that name, rotor. Using 12 volts from a car battery to get it to spin. And the 12 volts goes into the rotor and it just spins because the battery's giving it the spin. Now, that magnet spins inside the copper windings, creating the flow of electricity that we call current. But what happens when you remove the electromagnetic and when you insert permanent magnets? Instead, strong neodymium cylinders fixed in a perfect pattern to repel each other. What happens? Well, the field never dies. It spins without needing to be energized. It becomes a permanent magnet alternator, or PMA. Type that up in Google and you're going to get the FBI calling you. And now all it needs is motion. The moment it spins, power begins to flow. No battery, no fuel, no grid, no approval. That's why I say all you do is you just a pulley. And there's cool little lawnmower things you can buy to hook to it. So you just pull it and it'll go back, and you just keep pulling it and spin it faster until the thing is operating as fast as you need it to be. The moment it spins, the power begins. No battery, no fuel, no grid, no approval. No grid. Pull a rope, light is born. Crank a gear, heat emerges. Pedal a bicycle, water's boiled. Meaning, pedal the bike to get it to spin as fast as you can, and then done. Get off the bike, and the sucker will run for hours. Is that bad? Are we breaking the laws of physics here? No, we're fulfilling them. The resistance, the inertia, the friction, all of these are real. And yet so is the energy. And it doesn't last forever. It doesn't need to. What matters is that it works when you want it to. What matters is that you no longer are waiting for the switch to be flipped by someone far away who has control of the dams and the waters and the wind and all that bullshit. You see, the lie isn't that perpetual motion is impossible. The lie is that useful motion must always come from above, from corporations, grids, or billionaires. Fuck them. But in truth, power belongs to those who understand motion, who respect torque, and who honor the sacred pairing of magnet and copper. I don't think we're chasing fantasies here. We're building microcosms, human-scale systems, designed not to run cities, but to just run homes. Designed not for infinite power, but for sovereign power, to get you away from them. And that changes everything. Imagine how much money you can save a year not paying your power bill. Because once you've made your own flame from motion, you realize that they didn't just steal your power, they stole your birthright. And now you should take it back. In 2016, Emil Rida published a paper that changed everything. Using only magnets, no coils, no wires, no batteries, she built a motor that spun on its own. Not forever, not magically, but long enough to boil water, long enough to charge a light, long enough to break the illusion that motion needs permission. And her model showed positive torque across 760 degrees, zero net loss, and no electrical input once it started spinning. What she built wasn't just a motor. It was a message. We can do this. And if a university professor in Najaf, India can build it in a lab, well, we can build it in a village. Come on, people. Because once you build it, once you see it with your own eyes, that light can come from motion alone. You'll never look at the grid the same way again. You'll never believe their story about scarcity and how hard it is to build this shit. You'll never accept energy as a monthly bill, and that is dangerous. Not dangerous to your neighbors, not dangerous to the environment, but dangerous to them. The lizard people. To the corporations that trade in dependence, to the governments that weaponize utilities. To the elites who build empires from the simple act of keeping you disconnected from your own source. The suppression isn't always with bullets. Sometimes it's with laughter. They laughed at the man in his garage. They called the village engineer a fool. They use words like pseudoscience, unreliable, and inefficient, and laugh while they point to the guys in the white coats who go, yep, they're idiots. But they never explain how a rope and a wheel combined with magnets and copper can light a home. Unless that home is forbidden to shine without their permission. You see, it's not that they don't know this works. It's that they don't want you to know. There are patents, thousands of them, filed, documented, and sealed under the guise of national security. Some involve magnetic motors, others involve self-powered generators, vibration harvesters, or zero-fuel heating devices. Many were bought up by energy companies only to be buried, shelved, and forgotten by design. They say it's not efficient. Well, if it wasn't, why buy the fucking patent? But Africa doesn't need efficiency. It needs fire. It needs water to boil. It needs a phone call. One light, one flame. And for that, this machine is perfect. Just a simple alternator. They say it won't scale. Good. Let it not scale. Let it stay small. Let it stay human. Because the moment energy becomes too large, it becomes taxable, traceable, corruptible. But when it stays with the people in the home, in the village, it cannot be taken. And that terrifies the bigwigs. Because they know, if one man builds it, then 10 will build it, then a village, then a nation, then a world where the grid is optional. That's not just a revolution, that's an exodus. Will you follow me? An exodus from dependency, from captivity, from the Pharaoh of fossil and the Caesar of current. They don't fear your generator. They fear your independence. And once they lose control of the spark, they lose the world built on keeping it from you. So how do you begin? Well, you begin the way all real power begins, with your hands, with what you have, with the forgotten, the discarded, the ordinary, because nothing about this machine is exotic. It's not. It does not need high-tech components or global supply chains. It needs truth, motion, and a little courage and patience. And here's what you do. You find an old car alternator. Any mechanic's junk pile will have one. You strip it down. You remove the field coil that once depended on a 12-volt feed. In its place, you embed neodymium magnets, the kind found in old hard drive speakers or bought cheaply online. Fix them evenly around the rotor, north to south, a wheel of invisible fire. You now have the heart of a permanent magnet alternator, a generator that needs no field power to create electricity. All it needs is first motion. When I say first pull, then motion. And it will spin for hours and hours, sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for years, depending how wonderfully put together this thing that you have done is. Mount it to a wooden frame, bolt it firm. Now attach the pulley or crankshaft to the input shaft. Maybe it's a rope you use to pull it like a lawnmower. Maybe it's a set of pedals from a bicycle. Maybe it's a hand crank. However you choose to spin it, let the magnets pass by the copper coils and watch the voltage rise. 12 volts, 13, 14, enough to charge a battery, enough to bring light. Next, connect it to a charge controller. These are cheap, ubiquitous, built for solar, but just as happy to regulate power from your dynamo. And from there, the controller charges a 12-volt deep cycle battery, AGM lead acid, or LifePO, LIFEPO4, whatever you can source. This battery becomes your well, your bank, your reservoir of captured fire. From the battery, run a simple distribution line. A USB port to charge your phone, a 12-volt DC barrel jack to run lights, fans, or radios, a small inverter if you need AC for a short burst. All of this fits in a wooden box. All of it can be carried by one man. All of it can be maintained by basic tools. This is not the future of energy. This shit is 200, 300 years old. And it's the return of what energy was always meant to be, local, earned, and sacred. You don't need a license to build it. Well, not yet. You don't need a degree to understand it. You just need to remember that you are not helpless, that your limbs still move, that motion still matters, and that you were not born to beg for fire. Then you teach this to your kids. Show them that the act of cranking a wheel can light a room for months. Let them feel what it means to own the flame. Because the real power isn't in the battery, it's in the moment when a human says, I will no longer wait for someone else to turn the lights on. That's God. That's a path. That is the dynamo. And every step on it is a strike against the empire of dependence. One pull of the rope, that's all it takes. And in that pull, maybe 2 seconds of motion, you begin to unwind a lie that has lasted for generations. That pull spins the magnets stir the field awakens the copper releases the current, and the current lights the room. One pull can illuminate a dinner table. One pull can heat the coil of an igniter and boil a pot of water. One pull can fill the battery that fills the only phone in the village. Don't underestimate what lives inside that moment either. Because we've been trained to believe that power must be endless to be useful. And that's if it doesn't last forever. It's not worth building. The only grids and systems that megawatts count on. But those who live on the edge, those without backup plans or wall sockets, know better. And know that a few hours of power can mean everything to a village. Warmth, food, cooking food, water, light, charging for a call for help, silence of not depending on diesel, dignity of not begging anyone to turn the switch on. When your system is powered by your own effort, your own motion, the very flicker of light is sacred. You don't waste it, you don't abuse it, you don't forget it. This is not about abundance, it's about sovereignty. Getting off the grid. This is about what happens when a person realizes that energy doesn't have to be infinite, and it just has to be yours. I did that. A rope and pulley pulled 10 times in a row can spin the alternator for several minutes. And a flywheel and a motion carries it on. Crank for 10 minutes and you can run lights for the whole evening. Crank longer and you can charge phones, run a fan, or ignite a gas stove multiple times just on a simple alternator that you converted into a permanent magnet alternator. That's it. All you need to do is just continue cranking it when the inertia starts to go down. And yes, it's not going to last forever. And you'll have to crank it again. But you can always upgrade from 1.0 to 2.0 after you pull the whole thing apart and figure it out. What's making it not spin forever? Again, this is just the beginning of your walk through finding the trail that leads to independence. Imagine an entire household lit by your effort. Imagine children watching their fire crank the power onto the home with his bare hands. And it's on, and it'll run for hours. Not from guilt, not from desperation, but from your strength, from love, from purpose. One pull becomes a ritual. One pull becomes a rite. And when multiplied across villages, across neighborhoods, across nations, the act of pulling becomes a movement. And that's what those assholes fear. Talking about the elite. Because once we remember that energy lives in our motion, we will never again accept a life where we have to ask for it. Now, this machine we've been talking about, it's not meant to sit in a lab. It isn't meant to impress engineers either. It's meant to be used in the dust, in the rain, in the corners of the world the grid forgot. And it's not about scale, it's about replication. One man builds one, he teaches 10 more. 10 villages see it work, and the lights never go out again. This is the village model. This is what I want to do as a ministry. Not centralized energy, but distributed fire. Each household generated what it needed. Each block lighting its own path. Each person becoming a living generator of power, hope, and stability. I want to make that real. A sample of a setup in rural Africa, if we wanted to do this, all we would need is one alternator converted to PMA. All we would need is one pedal rig or a rope crank mounted to a tree stump, one 12-volt battery bank, 5 LED lights, one gas stove with a piezoelectric igniter, one USB power hub, one solar panel added as a trickle charge backup, and one laminated diagram of how to rebuild it. Is it really that hard? And what's the result? A family can cook, a child reads, a mother charges her phone, and for the first time in years, the room glows. Not with candles, not with fumes, but with honest light. And we would be training the flame keepers. This is not a product, it's a priesthood. We can say this is what God would want. Cheap, free energy. The ones who learn to build because they'll become keepers of the sacred skill. Engineers without degrees, mechanics without schools, power priests who walk from home to home repairing the flame. All we have to do is train one high school student, one father with tools, one daughter with her hands on the crank. You don't need apps. You don't need apprenticeship. 1 week to build, a lifetime to use. And imagine the villages where the young are taught how to wind copper coils, align magnetic fields, assemble a regulator circuit, safely manage 12-volt power, calculate load versus output, honor the law of conservation without bowing to the gatekeepers. This becomes more than electricity. It becomes self-reliance, dignity, and resistance. When a village no longer fears the dark, it can dream again. And when it doesn't beg for aid, it can build. And when its fire is pulled from the wheel and not from the wire, it cannot be turned off from above. And it's not charity, it's resurrection. It's what Jesus would want us to do. And you'll see the fire in their eyes once you show them. You see, you can measure volts, you can calculate amps, but you cannot measure what happens in the soul the first time someone pulls the rope and makes their own light. And it begins in silence, then illumination. Not the Illuminati satanic cult. And in that glow, their eyes widen, not at the technology, but at the implication. We did this ourselves. We didn't pay a bill. We didn't plug in. We made light from motion. Right, and we're going to continue making sure you can keep doing it. In refugee camps where generators break, where the diesel runs out, where the wires were never strung, these machines are more than tools. They're hope incarnate. A boy in Malawi pulls the crank 5 times and charges a flashlight his family hasn't used in weeks. His mother in Haiti uses the wheel to ignite a gas burner and boil water for the first time, or the first safe meal since the storm. Or a girl in Nigeria pedals for 10 minutes and powers a radio that lets her hear her own language, her people, and her future. What you see in their faces is not excitement, it's recognition. A fire that says, this was always ours. They just kept it from us. And the revolution is in the testimonies. We may hear of them saying, I used to walk 10 kilometers to charge my phone. Now I pull a rope for 10 seconds. Or we used to beg the NGO to fix the diesel generator. Now my son builds our own light from junk. Or they will say, the grid goes down in the capital, but our wheel keeps spinning. We are no longer in the dark, and they can't take it back. I don't think these are theoretical claims. These are not inventions of conspiracy. These are real voices that will happen from people who touched a generator that did not come from China, from Shell, or from the aid truck. These are the unplugged, and yet they shine brighter than before. And their eyes hold fire because now they know. They know that they are no longer helpless. They know they are no longer forgotten. They know their children will not grow up learning to be powerless. This is not about the machine. This is about the awakening that follows it. And once that fire is lit in their eyes, it becomes unstoppable. Because you can tax all the fuel you want. You can meter the grid, but you cannot extinguish the fire in the heart of the free. And there comes a moment when a man looks at the wall and no longer sees a socket. He sees a shackle. And when he looks at the generator and no longer sees a machine, he sees a declaration. When he realizes this light is mine. This movement isn't about technology. It's about sovereignty. It's about efficiency. And it's about escape. The chain they gave you wasn't made of metal. It was woven from convenience, from false complexity, from the idea that power means being allowed to access what already belongs to you. But now that chain breaks. Not with riots, not with revolutions, with a simple wheel, an alternator, a rope, and a hand on a crank, and a mind that remembers you are not powerless. You were trained to feel powerless, not anymore. You see, you were born into a system that convinced you to forget how the world actually works. Now we're remembering. And when we remember, we become dangerous. That's a good thing, because the man who builds his own fire cannot be threatened with darkness. And the family that cooks without the grid cannot be starved into obedience. And the village that light itself does not bow to foreign wires or imported fuel. These are the chain breakers. We are the chain breakers and the new priests of motion. And we do not work for the grid. We are the grid. You see, they build for no applause. They shine for no reward. They pull because they must, because they remember, because they refuse to go dark again. When I say they, that's you and me and the people that we taught. And if one of them rises in each village, each valley, each slum and backlot and forgotten place, the whole system shakes. You are one of them. Whether you build it, teach it, share it, or just believe in it, you are part of this breach in the wall. This has been on my heart for 20 years. I want to pursue this. And you are part of the wheel that keeps turning. You're part of the light that will never again be turned off from above. So let the elites have their batteries. Let the cities have their grids. Let the markets trade futures in megawatts and lithium and carbon. We'll just take the wheel. We'll take the crank. We'll take the rope. And from that motion, from that resistance, from that sacred pull, we will spark a world that they cannot meter. Why? Because it was never about building a perfect machine. It was about proving that we could. It was never about replacing the grid. It was about showing that we are not condemned to it. The first time we saw that rope pulled and the light came on, we understood something ancient. That power is not something you buy. It is something you make. And once you have made it, even for a moment, you will never again be content to beg for it. This generator, this rope, this flame, it's not technological breakthrough. This is a spiritual role. It's a rediscovery of something sacred that was buried beneath convenience and control. It's the moment a human being sees the spark, feels the warmth, and knows I am no longer under their thumb. Because power is political. And the word politics means to control a group of people. And power is spiritual. Power is territorial. And when the poor begin to make their own, the kings begin to sweat. So go build it. Help me build it. Research, find information. Even if it's crude, even if it sputters, even if only lights a single bulb for a single night, who cares? It's a start, it's a beginning. Because that night will be a holy one. And that light will be remembered. And someone somewhere will see it glowing and know that they can do this too. And that is how the fire spreads. One wheel, one hand, one pole, one village at a time until the world is full of light that they cannot turn off. There has got to be alternators in Africa. There's got to be. They have cars, trucks, Jeeps, all kinds of vehicles that have alternators. We can teach them how to take these alternators, take them apart, glue the magnets on them, put them back together, and heat their meals and charge their phones just by a simple little crank and a pull. And maybe we can get sophisticated enough to where we can start making these things there so that they can start their own companies and sell it to other villages. This is how a revolution starts. I want to be a part of that. I want you to be a part of that with me. I'd like to thank Zach and Robert for stepping up and looking for this alternative energy source and see if we can build ourselves a prototype. And if that's one step. Next, we got to figure out how to make one very quick and very cheap so we can take that diagram and go make one in Africa. And once we make one, we will find more alternators to make another and another and another until finally they know what to do, where to go, what to buy, and how to put it together. And we did our job. One fire at a time.
Why do 75% of people feel exhausted all the time? The answer might surprise you. In the 1920s, Standard Oil decided to dive into medicine. They pushed synthetic petroleum into our drugs. Sure, it masked symptoms, but it wrecked our guts. Our good bacteria, which fight off parasites and heavy metals, got wiped out by crude oil. But here's the good news. We can fix this by going back to nature. Introducing Elite Potion, the world's top detox program. It restores your good bacteria by removing toxic threats like aluminum, strontium, barium, and parasites. Imagine feeling energized and alive again. They said there couldn't be a pill that did it all. We invented it. Visit elitepotion.com and reclaim your health from synthetic pharmaceuticals. Your body will thank you.
This has been Cause Before Symptom. I'm your host, James Garner. Tune in tomorrow night when God gives me another revelation to tell you guys all about. God bless you, God keep you, and God thank you for supporting my show. Go to jamescarner.com, my website, and download my books. They're free. And go to elitepotion.com and download my award-winning Elite Potion that removes parasites and heavy metals. That's what's killing the temple. You'll feel better, I promise. And you could all do me one big favor. If we'd all just try to love your neighbor, well, I do believe this world would be a better place. We'll see you guys tomorrow.